Episode 19 Design, Balcony Rail. Our plans had a balcony at the end of the great room above the kitchen. I needed to put a railing across it, but didn't want a generic set of rails or logs. I wanted a specialty custom rail that reflected the nature present in northern Minnesota. You know, ducks, loons, moose, herons, etc. The solution was to design my own metal panels and then have them manufactured. My idea was to design and install railings that looked like this. I needed to comply with residential code. It specifies that the balcony rail height should be not less than 36 inches from the floor for single-family residential. So, I needed 36 inches from the floor to the top of the rail. If you're in California or a commercial multifamily property, this minimum height is raised to 42 inches. A 4-inch maximum gap size is allowed. That means that a sphere larger than 4 inches would be not able to be passed through the railing. The panel must be able to withstand 200 pounds of pressure in any direction. My offsets to height. The rails I was going to buy come with a 1-inch square tube on both the top and bottom, 2 inches total. I will set the railings 4 inches above the floor. This results in a 6-inch offset from the 36-inch requirement, or a resultant design panel height of 30 inches. There are companies that will take your design and cut it out of a sheet of steel. The cutting machines that they use easily import files that are the type drawing exchange files, or .dxf. A .dxf file is a vector file, which means that the drawing can be zoomed in or out and the quality remains the same. You can download many DXF files for free off the internet. Link is below. DXF files are also known as AutoCAD interchange files. Photoshop won't import DXF files, so you need to convert them first to PDF files. This can be done with Adobe Illustrator. So the challenge is to create a drawing and then save it as a DXF file that can be sent to the metalworking company. For my panel designs, I needed to find silhouette drawings of the items that I wanted in my panels. These can be in any format, but PDF files work just fine. PNG files work very well also. I then used Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator to create the image in the DXF file. Here's how I created a DXF file for the manufacturer. I needed to use Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator. First, I need to create a canvas the exact size in inches as a desired panel. So I go to File, New, and where it brings up the sizes of the panel here, I'm going to change this to inches. And the panel I'm looking at building, let's say that it's 60 inches wide by 30 inches high. That works fine. Resolution, 300 pixels, that's fine. Everything's good here. I'll create that panel. And so it brings it up. I've got it here now ready for me to work with. Now that I have the rough shape of the panel correct, I'll go ahead and save it. And I'll go Save As. And I want it to be saved as a PSD. That's what I'm going to be working through here. So I'll call it the Railing Test 3. So save that. So now I've got my Railing Test 3 in there. Now we're going to want the background to be transparent. That's eventually what the CAD machines are going to cut out. And so I come over here to the Magic Eraser tool and I select. And you can see now the entire background is transparent. And it's kind of my habit after I make changes like this to go ahead and automatically save the file again so that I don't lose any changes. Now on my panels, I'll eventually have a 2-inch border around them of black metal, so I need to create those. To do that, I'll go ahead down here and I'll select the rectangle tool, which is on the side. And up here in the fill, I'll take it from red and I'll go to black for the fill, and for the stroke, I'll also go to the black. So I have both of those set black on black. And then I'll simply click out here in the field somewhere. It will open this little box, and the width, I'll say, is 60 inches. And the height will be 2 inches. And you say OK, and that goes ahead and draws in a 60-inch by 2-inch border. And I'll go ahead and just stick that right up on top there. I'll go ahead and repeat that process for the next 3 boxes going around. The next one will also be 60 inches wide. You gotta remember to put the inch in there by 2 inches high. Say OK, there it is. Grab it, stick it down in, and then my next 2 boxes will be 30 inches high by 2 inches wide for the side. And then once again, rectangle tool, click anywhere, width is 2 inches, and the height is 30 inches. Grab that, bring it over, and now I have a border on my drawing. You'll also see that I have all the layers over here, and so I'm going to go ahead to layer, and I'm going to merge my visible layers so that it's all one layer at that point. At this point, I'm going to save this, and remember we had the name on it of the railing test 3, so I'm going to keep that one, that background, in case I need it for other things later. And now I'm going to change this. I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'll take it to railing test 4. And that's the one that I'm going to work with. At this point, we want to begin to draw and fill this area in here. And so you will have already gotten and downloaded all kinds of images that you would like, and you would place them up here in these top tabs in Adobe Photoshop. Now it's just a matter of clicking on one of these and going, hey, is this something that I want to bring into my picture? If it is, go ahead and select, like so, edit copy, go back into your main thing here, edit paste, say, yep, those are the cattails I want, and I'm going to grab them, make sure that you've got the correct layer selected over here, and I'm going to set them where I want them. So you can say, well, let's put these cattails, say, over in there, and maybe you want a whole bunch of cattails. So you can paste a bunch of them in. Edit paste, whatever you'd like, and then once you've got them, you can put them in, do whatever you want with them. You get your cattails in place, and so you're beginning to get your drawing going here. Okay? And then you go, well, I want more than cattails. Why don't we see what we've got? All right, that looks pretty good. I want a loon floating around someplace. So I grab my loon. I'll copy the loon, go back over to my railing, paste that in, and you can see it looks pretty small in there. So I'll grab that holding the shift key so I don't change proportions, and you go, yep, that looks like a fairly good loon, and I'll put him swimming up here in the cattails someplace, something like that. And you can continue to do this with all of the different pictures that you may have. Here's a nice trout, so I'll grab him, there we go, edit copy, go back into my drawing, paste him in, take him up here and go, well, hey, maybe I want to spin him. He's jumping out of the water like so. Holding my shift key so he keeps proportions a little bit, although he didn't. You can go ahead and move that fish anywhere you want. You can spin him around. Eventually, you get your drawing to have all of the elements in it that you want as you're going across here. So I look at some of my others, I go, we've got that, we've got this. Yeah, here's a nice thing with trees. I had done this earlier. So I'm going to copy this back into my drawing. I'm going to paste that one in on the top, grab it, move it up. There's my trees. Okay, that's everything. We've got the loon in the lake prior here. We come over here to the different layers. Here's a layer with the fish. I'll move the fish down, shorten them up a little, spin them around, drag him out a little bit. Of course, he's a pretty big fish. Might have to make him a little smaller. Okay, and you can go ahead and stick these wherever you want. Okay, eventually, once you've done this with enough of the items that you pulled down, oh, here's a nice duck. Let's add him in too. Again, same thing, edit copy, go back into our drawing, we go edit, and we'll paste him in, grab him, move him up and say, hey, I want to put him up here someplace. Now, one of the things to think about while you're placing these items is they have to be connected. This fish and this loon won't work the way I have them set, neither will this duck right here. It needs to actually be connected to the metal at different points. And so you may want a tree branch to extend to touch it. You may want it to be sitting on a cattail. You know, there's the duck. If I've got this fish, if I put him, you know, like this, it will work because he's connected to the frames here and he's connected across the cattail there. It'll work like that. That will work fine. It will not work to have him out here in the middle just floating freely because he needs to be attached into something there. Once you're complete, you'll have a drawing that looks like this. And you can see in this how I've connected cattails to the duck's feet. I've connected the top of the duck's wings up here to the border. I've taken this family of ducks and connected them on the left and right side. The loon is connected in to one of the waves in the water and to the cattails I've placed in. So we've gone ahead and ensured that all of our elements are connected. At this point, if we've got a whole bunch of different layers in here, you want to go to Layer and Merge the Visible, which takes it down to one layer. And then the next point would be to go back to this magic eraser and ensure that the background is all in fact transparent. And you can see that it's transparent there. Now it's time to test to see whether or not we meet the code requirement of a 4-inch ball not being able to fit through our railing. I'll change this from a rectangle to an ellipse tool. And up here on fill, I'll go red there, and stroke, I'll go red there. So I've got a red ball that's going to appear in our picture. I'll go ahead and click anywhere in here, and it'll bring up this dialog box, and the width will be 4 inches, and the height will be 4 inches. And we'll say OK. There's our box. Now you could, or our ball rather, and you can see that it's actually on top of the drawing right now. Well, if you look down here at the layers, if you take layer 0 and drag it up, it pushes the other one down below. Once that is down below, go over here and reselect ellipse 1 down there. That's the layer we're working with now. And you can now go up here to your selection tool, grab that ball, and start moving it around. And what we're doing is we're looking to see that everywhere we put this ball, that it has some amount of overlayment from a cattail or from the ducks, and that there's nowhere in this drawing where this ball can fit through without hitting something. And if you come to an area, like for instance, let's say there was nothing in this area right here right now. If you come to that and you go, well, hey, that's more than 4 inches. Well, out of your other drawings, go grab yourself another cattail or another drawing element and fill in that gap that's 4 inches. And you can see I've done that here. I've strategically placed different cattails in here so as to ensure that there is not a 4-inch gap anywhere in my drawing. Once we're complete with this red ball and it's served its purpose, at that point we can come back down here and ensure that we're clicked on the ellipse 1 layer and hit your delete key, and that layer is now gone. The ball's just there for testing. We don't want it left in for when they're making your railing at the shop. Now we need to take this PSD file and convert it over to a DXF file. First of all, make sure again that your background is transparent. If it's not, come over here to the magic eraser tool and click, and it'll make it transparent. And then make sure that we're saving it at this point as a PSD. So if I go File, Save As, right now it happens to be a PNG. Photoshop's on top here as a PSD. We will now open Adobe Illustrator, and we'll bring that file that we just worked with into here. And if I'm looking here at somewhere in here will be a picture 4 copy PSD. It's that one right there. Let's open that. Brings up this box. We just leave that as it is. Say OK. And you can see it's zoomed way in. And so I'm going to do a Control minus and zoom us back out so we can see the entire document. Then if you go View and you come down here to Show Transparency Grid, you'll be able to confirm that your background is in fact transparent. At this point, we go ahead and grab this selection tool in the upper left, select the entire document. You can see it's got the orange around it there. And then we go Object, Image Trace, and make and expand. At this point, it converts it to a raster object. And you can see in here, as I zoom in, that all of this now has paths and curves and math in it. We want to export this out as a DXF file. So we go to File, Export, Export As, and we're looking for DXF. You can see we've got all these here. Now what's interesting here is they call it an AutoCAD interchange file for DXF in this program. That's what we want to export. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to export that out. And it says, yes, I already did this once. It brings up the options. We just leave those as it is and we say OK. Once it's exported, I'll go ahead and I'll close this document, which was the PSD. It'll save that as an AI. Vectors, yes, that's all fine, okay. I'd like to take that file that we just created, which was a DXF, and drag it back in and have that open in Adobe Illustrator. It'll ask me these options. They all look fine. Say OK. And it brings in the diagram. You can ignore this white sheet in the middle. It's just a blank artboard. If I go Control minus, I can zoom out and it shows me my entire file. And you can see as you go around with your cursor that in fact it is a raster file and it's got all of the angles and paths and anchors in it there. If you want to get rid of this white and the gray, you can go up here to View, and coming down here someplace is something about, there it is, hide the artboards. So hide the artboards, there it is, and there you can see your raster drawing. And at this point you know that you actually have a DXF file and it works and it will be able to be used to create your railings. You can then email this XVF file to your manufacturer and they will use this file to plasma cut your panel.